from leaving to Knicks after a disappointing season to weighing the pros and cons of a return to Chicago, this is Derrick Rose's return to the Bulls confirmed. Rose's time with the New York Knicks has officially come to an end. The team decided to pass on their $15.6 million option for the former MVP's contract. Now, you may be wondering how Rose even lasted the entire previous season on their roster. Head coach Tom Thibodeau benched him in December, and he only saw action in one game after the clock struck January 1st. But credit to Rose, he took it all in stride, grateful for the chance to be in the NBA. Now, given that he only played 53 games over the past 2 seasons, it was unlikely he'd have teams lining up for his services. However, teams are always looking to add depth in their guard department, and that's something Rose is perfect for. Among all the teams vying to sign the point guard, the Milwaukee Bucks make a lot of sense. Back in February 2023, reports suggested the Bucks showed interest in him, but ultimately shifted their focus and signed Jay Crowder. Now, we all know how that turned out. Crowder obviously didn't quite deliver as expected, going 0 of 6 from deep in the playoffs against the Miami Heat before being swiftly removed from the rotation. While Rose may not have single-handedly transformed the Bucks' playoff fortunes, his ball-handling skills would have provided a much-needed offensive boost and versatility. Adding to the appeal, the Bucks' new head coach, Adrian Griffin, is no stranger to Rose's game. He spent 5 seasons as an assistant on Thibodeau's staff in Chicago during Rose's MVP campaign. And considering the Bucks' current backup point guards, Havon Carter and Goran Dragic, bringing in Rose wouldn't have been such a bad move, especially since they've re-signed Chris Middleton for another 3 years. There's also the Cleveland Cavaliers. They may not be in dire need of another guard, but Rose could have been a valuable asset to a young and rising team in the Eastern Conference. Just take a look at their core players: Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. All of them will be 27 or younger when the 2024 season tips off. Sure, Mitchell and Allen have some playoff experience, but their first-round series against the Knicks exposed a lack of depth on the Cavs roster. Coach J.B. Bickerstaff had no choice but to play his quartet of stars heavy minutes, leaving them overworked and outmatched. On top of that, Mobley and Allen struggled to find their scoring touch against the Knicks. Let's not forget, the Cavs bench lacked scoring punch throughout the regular season, sporting the 3rd worst offensive rating. And this is where Rose's presence could make a difference. Before his limited action last season, he'd been a terrific scorer off the bench for 4 years, averaging 16.2 points on nearly 48% shooting. Plus, he shot a respectable 42.6% on catch-and-shoot threes in just 26 games. Cleveland needs more perimeter shooting and players who can thrive in catch-and-shoot situations. Admittedly, Rose comes with some question marks after his extended absence, but the potential upside he brings could undoubtedly elevate an offense that ranked dead last in pace. But when it comes to the most likely destination for Rose, for a long time the wind was blowing toward the Windy City itself, Chicago. The Bulls front office faced a challenging situation this summer with 3 players locked in for at least $20 million in the upcoming season. Meanwhile, Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White were headed for free agency, despite their expensive roster that finished with a 40-42 record last season. Rumors suggested that the Bulls were planning to run it back next season. Apparently, no one has come close to making a significant trade offer for Zach LaVine. Now, if we're talking about a reunion between Rose and the Bulls, it just makes perfect sense for both parties involved. Rose is looking for an opportunity to play, and the Bulls need depth at point guard, with Lonzo Ball expected to miss the entire upcoming season, Patrick Beverley hitting unrestricted free agency, and White and Ayo Dosunmu eligible for restricted free agency. Unfortunately, fate had other plans, as at the time of making this video, reports indicate that Rose has decided to sign with the Memphis Grizzlies. Yup, the prodigious point guard who once dazzled the college basketball scene in Memphis is returning to the city that catapulted him into the national spotlight. Rose made waves during his 1-year tenure with the Memphis Tigers before the Bulls drafted him in 2008. Rose's college stint was nothing short of remarkable. He showcased his talents under the guidance of John Calipari, leading the high-flying Tigers to a stunning 38-2 record and an agonizingly close brush with the national championship. Fast forward to the present, and Rose has just inked a 2-year deal with the Grizzlies after the Knicks didn't exercise his team option. And as a nod to this momentous homecoming, Rose has made the decision to switch jersey numbers for the upcoming 2024 season. Rose's path, since his MVP season in 2011, has been marked by a series of unfortunate injuries. But he has still successfully reinvented himself as one of the league's most effective bench guards during his stints with various teams after leaving Chicago in 2016. And now, after a challenging season in New York, the seasoned point guard is seeking a change of scenery to reignite his passion for the game. But it's not going to be easy. In joining a talented Memphis roster that's poised to contend for an NBA title next year, Rose faces another challenge. The team will be without their electric point guard Ja Morant, who's set to serve a 25-game suspension at the start of the 2024 season. Stepping into the limelight will be the impressive swingman Desmond Bane, fresh off a career year and armed with a mammoth $200 million contract extension. But the acquisition of Marcus Smart from the Boston Celtics ensures that the Grizzlies will have a reliable presence to keep things steady in Morant's absence. Meanwhile, Rose's role will extend beyond his on-court contributions. The young Memphis squad has been yearning for experienced leadership, and Rose will be tasked with anchoring the bench and providing guidance to his teammates. But the question is, why return to Memphis and not Chicago? While the idea of Derrick Rose returning to his hometown of Chicago is enticing, there are several reasons why it might not be the best move for him. Despite his deep-rooted connection to the city and his past success with the Bulls, there are a ton of factors to consider that suggest a reunion would not be the wisest decision. First and foremost, Rose's injury history raises legitimate concerns. Over the years, he's been plagued by unfortunate injuries that have significantly impacted his performance on the court. From tearing his ACL during the 2012 playoffs to subsequent knee injuries, Rose has struggled to regain his explosive form. It would be risky for the Bulls to invest in a player whose physical condition is unpredictable and who may not be able to consistently contribute at a high level. On top of that, the Bulls' current roster dynamics and needs should be taken into account. One glaring issue that the team faces is their lack of three-point shooting. Unfortunately, Rose's shooting from beyond the arc has been subpar throughout his career, with a career three-point shooting percentage of just 31.5% and a sad 30% during his last season with the Knicks. Adding a player who doesn't address this weakness would only make the problem bigger and disturb the team's offensive balance. Plus, the Bulls find themselves at a critical turn in their development. As they try to build a young and cohesive team, it's essential to maintain a balanced offensive attack and foster a positive team dynamic. While Rose may possess leadership qualities and experience, his past stints with the team have proven that his playing style can be ball-dominant and potentially disrupt the team's rhythm and chemistry. Another thing the Bulls' decision-makers must have considered is the overall direction and long-term plans for the franchise. Building a sustainable and successful team requires careful evaluation of every roster move. Given Rose's injury history and the potential risks associated with his return, the front office obviously chose to prioritize stability and consistency from players who align with their strategic vision. Although there is an emotional pull toward a homecoming for Rose, the rational approach suggests that it may not be the best fit for either party. Chicago needs to focus on acquiring players who can provide reliable three-point shooting and complement the team's existing talent. On top of that, Rose should prioritize joining a team where his injury concerns are minimized and he can contribute without overshadowing the development of younger players. Ultimately, while the idea of Rose returning to Chicago might stir up nostalgic feelings, and as far as I can figure, it's best for everyone that Rose stays with the Grizzlies and tries to rebuild his lost form there. So from weighing the pros and cons of a return to Chicago to leaving to Knicks after a disappointing season, this was Derrick Rose's return to the Bulls confirmed.